Last time on Outdoor Adventures on Demand, you saw Bob and Tyler face some trying situations during the early season.
If it wasn't blackbirds, squirrels, cows, or coons, it was their camera giving them difficulties. Let's join them now as the rut kicks in and see how the rest of the season progresses.
Well, it's November 7th, the afternoon. It's been somewhat tough the last few days.
The mic noise that had been following them through the early season was back again. It was very frustrating for them to go out in the field, get good footage, come back and find this noise again. They just couldn't figure it out.
So the wind is also another factor. It's been blowing pretty good, gusts up to 20, 25. So
Bob also didn't know that the sound problems were going to go from bad to worse. It wasn't long before Bob had some fur on the ground.
well, as you can see, I took out one less predation control in this area. Shot a coyote about 28 yards, and I couldn't find my arrow. I don't know what happened to it, but as you can see, that is a big coyote, and went about 6 yards and piled up. And then I had seen two others since, but they're a little too far to shoot. So
It's mid-November, and Bob is faced with a difficult situation. He's trying to harvest a mature buck while self-filming. If you've never done this before, I will tell you it's certainly not easy. After spending all day on stand, Bob's first opportunity to take a mature buck presented itself. Unfortunately, as the buck approaches, Bob's camera was facing in the wrong direction and the mic was not turned on. Not only that, the hit was high and forward. Bob decided to pick up the trail the next morning. After a short track job, Bob found the buck piled up at the bottom of the ravine.
Great job, Bob. Even with all the camera difficulties, you managed to get a great buck. Now it's Tyler's turn.
It's the morning of November 13th. As you can see, it's really windy right now, and we think that's affecting some of the deer movement. My dad was down here for the last week, and he said the movement was just horrible, but he ended up shooting a really nice 150 class buck. And when he shot that, he came back up to Wisconsin, picked me up, and we drove at night. And thank you, Dad, for doing that. But hopefully the movement picks up and we'll see something. So stay with us, and hopefully we shoot a buck.
Day 1 was a bust with all the wind. But day 2, they hardly got in the stand before the action started. Early on, Tyler had opportunities at lesser bucks, but the buck you're about to see was exactly what Tyler was after. What a monster buck. Tyler could only hope that that deer would come within his range.
It's the morning of November 14th, and we couldn't do an intro earlier this morning because we had deer literally all around us. But we had like 10 does up on the hill behind me, and then a little buck was chasing them around. And my dad just rattled, and he rattled in 2-year-old 8-pointer. And then all of a sudden we were talking, and we were caught off guard with a doe coming through one of our entrances. And about 2 minutes after that, we had just an absolute giant come past. My dad got him on camera, but we couldn't beat that doe. They ended up going in our back ridge, and maybe, just maybe, that doe will come back and he'll be following her. So stay tuned, you're watching Takedown Outdoors.
"30 minutes later, a familiar face showed up, right in front of Tyler's stand. And that snort signaled the end of the rut. It was time for the late season.
Their next opportunity to hunt was moving into the late season. The food plots that Bob and Tyler planted were really paying off. Watch as the deer flood into this bean field. The buck that moves into this field is the same buck that Tyler passed on earlier in the season. After getting a closer look at this buck, Tyler and his dad were wishing that he hadn't have passed on it earlier.
It's the 20th December and it's about noon. We're going to the same spot we went last night, except on the other side of the field since the wind changed. We have a few deer we're going after that we know.
As the season closes out, as you just heard, that phantom noise is still there.
Stay with us and you're watching Takedown Outdoors.
Well, on the final day, as deer started to come into the fields, that noise reappears. After the season was over, we had a chance to take a look at the camera. We deducted that it was Bob's cell phone that was causing the interference. Needless to say, all cell phones will remain off on future hunts. Scott and I and everyone from TO would like to thank Bob and Tyler for the great efforts during the season. They're a great addition to the team, and their story has just begun.
We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Outdoor Adventures on Demand. There'll be more coming soon at takedownoutdoors.com.